Chosen one, this Saturday is a huge day, so please listen up. You who have carried burdens unseen by others, who have weathered storms that would have broken most, stand on the precipice of a major turning point. This isn't just a random occurrence. It's not simply another day circled on the calendar. There are certain moments in time when energy converges, when fate aligns with a precise opportunity, when the unseen is poised to become visible. This Saturday is one of those moments. Not for everyone, mind you, not for those sleepwalking through life, but for you, the anointed one, the one who has been carried through periods of stripping away, of refining, of reshaping, and of awakening. The world has no idea of the depth of your preparation. They saw your silence, but they didn't hear the battle raging within. They observed your stillness, but they didn't feel the rebuilding happening beneath the surface. You've been undergoing a transformation that was never showy, never dramatic, but always intentional. And now, the moment is drawing near when that transformation will make itself known. Before we move on, please stick with this message until the very end. There are words here that need to resonate with your spirit, not just pass through your ears. And as you stay, leave a blessing for someone else in the comments. A heartfelt wish spoken from the depths of your being, because a blessing given is a blessing multiplied in return. And type the number 144, a symbol of completion, alignment, integration, and the universe responding to your stated intentions. This is where wishes transform into energy, and energy manifests into form. Do this now, and then continue, because what's coming next is the awakening of recognition, the acknowledgement of what you have become. Now, chosen one, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's get started. You've felt something building inside you, haven't you? Maybe you couldn't quite put your finger on it. Maybe you haven't told anyone. Maybe you've even tried to ignore it. But it's been there. A quiet pressure, a heaviness that isn't a burden, but a sense of impending release. This felt like standing before a threshold with no visible door yet. Like being pulled forward without knowing your destination. Like knowing something significant is coming, even if your circumstances seem unchanged. That feeling isn't just your imagination running wild. It's alignment. This Saturday marks a convergence, a merging of cycles that have been unfolding in your life for longer than you realize. There were patterns you needed to break, connections you needed to release, versions of yourself you needed to outgrow. None of this was random. Every ending was making space. Every letting go was clearing room for what was always meant to arrive. The anointed one isn't simply chosen at random. The anointed one is prepared, and preparation is rarely a walk in the park. It bends you, it stretches you, tests the very foundation of your identity. But it also strengthens your core so that when abundance arrives, you aren't knocked off balance. This Saturday isn't about luck or chance. It's about timing. The kind of timing that feels like a lock clicking open after being sealed shut for ages. Life won't be the same after this turning point. Not because everything changes instantly, but because you won't be the same. The internal shift has already taken place. The external world simply needs a moment to catch up and recognize the new shape of your spirit. There have been days when you felt isolated, even when surrounded by people. Days when your silence felt like the only safe haven. Days when words couldn't express the depth of what you were processing. This wasn't loneliness. This was consecration. The anointed one is set apart before being elevated. Not separated because they're unworthy of company, but because they're being refined for a higher purpose. You weren't meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. You weren't meant to follow. You were meant to become. You've journeyed through times where you questioned everything. You questioned your direction, your voice, your intuition, your worth. But even in those moments of uncertainty, something within you refused to give way. Something within you kept breathing, kept moving, kept holding yourself together, even when you were breaking apart inside. That something was your true identity speaking, long before you could consciously hear it. That was the call of the anointed one, the call that doesn't fade, even when drowned out by chaos. This Saturday represents the recognition of that identity. The moment where your inner knowing begins to align with external events. Where signs become clearer. Where intuition speaks louder. where situations that once felt confusing begin to reveal their purpose. The shift won't be a sudden explosion, but it will be undeniable. You might notice that certain people start to distance themselves, or you might outgrow them effortlessly. This isn't rejection. This is clarity. Not everyone can stand beside an anointing being activated. Some relationships were only meant for earlier chapters of your life. They don't belong in the chapter that's unfolding now. Don't chase after what's leaving. Let it go with grace. Your rise requires space. There will also be moments of unexpected alignment, opportunities appearing out of nowhere, conversations unfolding that feel divinely guided, information reaching you at the precise moment you need it. That's the movement of destiny. When the chosen one steps into readiness, you'll feel like you're being carried along. You'll feel supported in a way that defies logical explanation. Understand that this Saturday isn't just a random date. It's a marker, a spiritual checkpoint, a moment of activation. Think about everything you've survived. Think about the nights that felt endless. Think about the tears that were shed in secret. Think about the strength you had to muster just to make it to the next sunrise. None of that was wasted. None of that was meaningless. Suffering isn't the defining characteristic of the Anointed One. It's the sharpening process. And sharpened things are meant to cut through what once held them captive. The energy surrounding this Saturday carries a frequency of clarity and shift. You might feel called to rest. You might feel called to withdraw. You might feel called to reflect. Follow that pull. This isn't a day to distract yourself. This isn't a day to numb your mind. This is a day to listen not to the outside world, but to yourself. Because the voice you'll be hearing isn't new. It's the voice that's always been with you. The voice of your awakened identity. The voice that's been whispering directions long before words could form. You aren't being given a blessing. You're being given recognition. Recognition of who you are. Recognition of what you carry. Recognition of your purpose. You weren't created to live a small life. You weren't created to conform to the expectations of those who haven't awakened. You were created to stand in your fullness. And fullness requires self-honoring. You're becoming the version of yourself that you were always meant to be, but couldn't access while still carrying the weight of the past. There's a calm rising within you. A calm not born from the absence of struggle, but from mastering it. That calm is power. That calm is clarity. That calm is the sign of maturity in the spirit of the Anointed One. Not emotional reactivity. Not fear. Not scrambling for acceptance, but witnessing life with depth and choosing your actions with intention. This Saturday doesn't promise fireworks. Promises alignment. And alignment is worth more than any dramatic shift. Because when you're aligned, everything that belongs to you arrives without force. You don't chase. You attract. You don't beg. You embody. You don't demand. You simply become. You're entering a season where you'll feel your steps guided in a way that feels almost effortless. Doors that were closed will open. Opportunities that once seemed distant will move closer. Resources that felt scarce will become available. Not because the world changed, but because you changed. This Saturday isn't about a miraculous event. It's about stepping into coherence. Your past prepared you. Your persistence shaped you. Your silence strengthened you. Your awakening transformed you. Now your identity carries the authority to receive what has always been yours. This is the turning point. This is the shift. This is the recognition of the Anointed One. There's a reason why your spirit has felt suspended between chapters, as though you were standing in a doorway with no clear view of what lies beyond. You've been in what could be called the in-between state. No longer who you once were, but not yet fully walking in the external expression of who you've become. This is one of the most delicate stages in the journey of the Anointed One. It's the moment where the internal shift has completed, but the external shift hasn't yet made itself visible. It can feel like waiting, but in truth, it's alignment finalizing itself behind the scenes. This Saturday is significant because it marks the moment where the internal and external begin to match. You might notice an increase in your awareness leading up to it. Moments of clarity, sudden realizations, memories surfacing and dissolving, old emotional tension loosening. You might feel more detached from what once bothered you. You might feel less reactive. You might find yourself choosing silence rather than explanation. All of these are evidence of elevation. They show that your consciousness has risen beyond where you once operated. The Anointed One doesn't evolve with fanfare. The shift happens quietly, quietly in the mind, quietly in the heart, quietly in the way you respond to life. And because these changes were internal, few understood what you were truly experiencing. They saw the outer shell, but they didn't witness the reconstruction happening inside you. But you felt it. You lived it. And now that reconstruction is almost complete. This Saturday marks the emergence. The emergence isn't dramatic. It isn't explosive. It's undeniable. It's the difference in your walk, the difference in your decisions, the difference in your presence. A shift so subtle that the world won't realize when it happened, only that something is different now. You might also feel a pull to take care of your energy during this time, to be more intentional with who you speak to, where you place your attention, what you allow into your mental and emotional space. This isn't isolation. This is elevation. The higher your frequency rises, the more sensitive you become to what is misaligned. Trust that sensitivity. It's guidance. What's coming next requires clarity, and clarity requires space. Some things you used to tolerate will now feel heavy. Some conversations will feel draining. Some environments will feel too small. Some individuals will feel distant, even if they're physically close. This isn't loss. This is growth. The Anointed One rises through release. Growth always asks, what can no longer come with me? And when you answer honestly, you make room for the new. This Saturday will act as a mirror. It will show you what has been completed within you, not through external events, but through internal recognition. You'll notice your reactions aren't the same. You'll notice your body doesn't carry the same tension. You'll notice your thoughts align more easily with peace instead of fear. These are the signs of an identity that has healed. There are specific qualities that awaken in the Anointed One at the threshold of activation. A calm that cannot be shaken. A knowing that doesn't need reassurance. A patience that doesn't feel like waiting. A confidence that doesn't need to be spoken. These qualities aren't ego. They're embodiment. You're no longer trying to become, you're becoming. You're no longer trying to prove, you're existing. You're no longer trying to hold on, you're allowing. This is the preparation for Saturday. Your energy is reorganizing itself around your purpose. You may have noticed that your intuition has become sharper. You can sense truth without explanation. You can feel when something is aligned or misaligned before logic can speak. This isn't coincidence. This is the result of internal coherence. Your spirit, mind, and body are beginning to operate together rather than separately. Before this Saturday arrives, allow yourself to listen to your inner guidance without resistance. If you feel called to rest, rest. If you feel called to meditate, breathe deeply or reflect, do so. If you feel called to remain quiet, allow silence to hold you. Don't force yourself to interact with the world in ways that require you to shrink to fit in. The Anointed One grows into expansion by honoring the call inward. There will be people who notice your shift but can't explain what has changed. They may ask what you're doing differently, what you're planning, what you're expecting, and you might not have the words to describe it. That's because this transformation wasn't intellectual. It was spiritual. Words can't explain what only the Spirit can understand. You don't need to justify your rise. This Saturday marks the beginning of being seen differently. Not because you'll speak differently, but because you are different. Your presence carries more weight now. Your silence speaks louder than your old explanations ever did. Your energy introduces you before your words do. The Anointed One doesn't announce the shift. The world simply begins to feel it. And they will. You don't need to prepare anything external for Saturday. You only need to be present with yourself. When the moment arrives, it won't feel like a dramatic event. It will feel like something finally clicks into place, like a deep exhale, like something in your spirit saying, yes, this is the moment, and from that point forward, the unfolding begins. No rushing, no forcing, no chasing, just alignment revealing itself step by step, day by day. There's something deeply intentional about the timing of your transformation. You may not have noticed it consciously, but every stage of your growth has unfolded in cycles. Periods of expansion followed by periods of stillness. Periods of clarity followed by periods of confusion. Periods where everything moved at once and periods where nothing moved at all. These cycles weren't random. They were shaping the internal structure of the Anointed One. You were being trained to move with timing, not impulse. The world has taught many to act out of desperation, fear, urgency, or pressure. But the Anointed One is taught to move from alignment, precision, and centered awareness. Your stillness wasn't stagnation. Your patience wasn't passivity. Your waiting wasn't weakness. It was calibration. The universe has been arranging the pieces around you while reshaping the pieces within you. This Saturday marks the point where inner calibration meets external opportunity. You may not see everything at once, but you will feel the shift begin. It will start with subtle confirmations, small synchronicities, small openings, moments of clarity, unexpected ease where there used to be resistance. These signals aren't the end result. They're indicators that the process is now active. You're stepping out of the stage of becoming and into the stage of embodiment. Embodiment means you don't simply know your truth, you live it. You don't simply understand your purpose, you walk in it. You don't simply believe in your path, you trust it. And trust in this stage becomes effortless. It will feel less like trying and more like remembering. You may notice that decision-making changes for you. What once took overthinking will now take only a quick sensing. You'll feel the answer before you can even describe it. This is the sign of alignment between your mind and your intuition. The Anointed One moves by instinct because instinct has been purified by experience. There were things you once feared that no longer hold power. There were identities you once clung to that no longer feel familiar. You've shed versions of yourself that were built on survival, and what remains is the version built on sovereignty. This Saturday, the energy will feel different. You may feel physically lighter or mentally clearer. You may feel a quiet awareness of something shifting beneath the surface of reality. You may perceive time differently, slower, deeper, more intentional. This is because you're entering a moment where your personal frequency rises above the noise of the world. You'll feel less affected by external chaos. You'll feel more centered, more grounded, more observant. The Anointed One is never controlled by the external. The Anointed One influences it. There's also a separation occurring. Not a separation from people by rejection, but by resonance. You're outgrowing what once matched your frequency. Some individuals may feel distant now, not because there's conflict, but because your internal world has expanded beyond the conversations and dynamics that used to fit. This can feel strange at first. It may feel like a quietness is entering your life, but this quiet is sacred. It's the space where your true identity breathes. Don't try to fill the silence. The silence is part of the ascent. The world has trained many to fill silence with distraction, noise, interaction, constant movement. But the Anointed One learns to let silence speak. Silence is where strength gathers. Silence is where intuition sharpens. Silence is where power settles into the bones. You aren't losing anything in this silence. You're gaining clarity, insight, and depth. During the days surrounding this Saturday, your awareness may heighten. You may notice things about your environment you never noticed before. Patterns of behavior, dynamics in relationships, motivations in others, energies that were always there but hidden beneath the surface. The veil lifts for the Anointed One when the time is right. And now the time is right. Clarity may not always feel comfortable. Sometimes it reveals what must be released. Sometimes it exposes what no longer resonates. Sometimes it shows you where you've been holding on to something out of memory rather than alignment. But clarity is liberation. It frees you from staying where your spirit can no longer grow. This Saturday isn't just about awakening. It's about readiness. Readiness to walk differently. Readiness to speak differently. Readiness to choose differently. Readiness to receive differently. For the first time, your spirit and your path are moving together in the same direction. There's no internal conflict. There's no divided self. The scattered pieces have returned to their place. You'll no longer feel the need to explain your journey. You'll no longer feel the urge to convince others to understand you. You'll no longer feel pulled in directions that don't align. Your alignment is becoming non-negotiable. This is what the shift looks like. You begin to honor yourself naturally. You begin to trust yourself instinctively. You begin to move with quiet certainty. The Anointed One doesn't rise with noise. The Anointed One rises with inevitability. You've been walking toward this moment for longer than you know. Not just in this season, but through every chapter that shaped your resilience, through every silence that shaped your insight, through every heartbreak that expanded your capacity to feel, through every trial that carved depth into your spirit. You didn't just survive those moments. They sculpted you. This Saturday isn't the climax. It's the unveiling of what has already been completed within you. There's a profound stillness that arrives when a person steps into alignment with who they truly are. It's not the stillness of inactivity, nor the stillness of silence that comes from suppression. It's the stillness of knowing. Knowing that you're moving correctly. Knowing that you're guided. Knowing that you're not being rushed nor delayed. Knowing that there's nothing to prove and nothing to chase. This is the stillness that has been forming within you, even during the times when life seemed uncertain. And this is the stillness that will begin to reveal itself even more strongly as the Saturday approaches. You're no longer reaching outward for direction. Direction now arises from within. The mind no longer runs ahead to guess the future, nor does it cling to the past for identity. The heart is no longer burdened with longing or loss. The spirit is no longer hidden beneath fear, doubt, or hesitation. You're standing closer to yourself than ever before. You may not fully realize it yet, but you will. And when you recognize this alignment in yourself, your life will begin to move in a way that others won't understand. They'll see your decisions shift without explanation. They'll see your standards change. They'll see your presence deepen. They'll feel your energy expand. Yet they won't be able to define what changed. That's because the transformation was never external, and it was rooted in your consciousness. And when consciousness changes, reality reshapes itself to match it. The Anointed One doesn't learn through information alone. The Anointed One learns through initiation. You were initiated through experience. You learned discernment through disappointment. You learned strength through collapse. You learned patience through delay. You learned trust through uncertainty. These weren't punishments. These were calibrations, training, refinement. Every experience that felt unfair was shaping your capacity to carry the role you now step into. And now the season of internal struggle is ending. The season of embodiment is beginning. This Saturday marks a shift from inner formation into outer expression. You'll begin to act from who you are, rather than who you had to be to survive your earlier chapters. The version of you that was built in hardship was necessary, but it wasn't final. That version knew how to endure. The version emerging now knows how to move. Movement from clarity, movement from intuition, movement from purpose, movement from sovereignty. There's a quiet authority rising in you now. This authority isn't loud, forceful, or aggressive. It doesn't need to be. It's rooted. It's steady. It's undeniable. You no longer seek validation from others because you understand that your path doesn't require consensus. You aren't here to convince anyone. You're here to embody your calling. As this Saturday approaches, you may notice something else, the presence of a deep, growing honesty within yourself. You can no longer lie to yourself about what you want, who you are, what you feel, or what you're capable of. You can no longer pretend to be small. You can no longer pretend to be unready. You can no longer delay your own emergence. Your spirit has reached the point where staying silent is no longer an option. This doesn't mean you must announce anything. The Anointed One doesn't need announcements. Your life will speak for you. Your energy will signal the shift long before your words do. There's a resonance that follows those who have awakened into alignment. Subtle but unmistakable. People don't know why they feel drawn to your presence. They simply do. They don't know why your words carry impact. They simply land differently. They don't know why your silence resonates with such power. Indeed, it does. The reason being is that your energy is no longer scattered in a million different directions. There was a time not so long ago when your thoughts, your emotions, and your very spirit were pulling you every which way. A time when you felt like you were at war with yourself, divided from the inside out. A time when your mind yearned for one thing, while your heart desperately craved something else entirely. But those days are fading into the past. You are becoming whole, integrated. Integration is wholeness, and wholeness, in turn, is a source of true strength. Strength begets clarity, and with clarity, your movement forward becomes not just possible, but inevitable. This Saturday isn't just another day where something outside of yourself picks you. It's the day you finally recognize that you've already chosen yourself, all along. And once you make that choice, once you fully embrace your calling, once you banish all doubt from your path and refuse to compromise your worth, life will begin to reshuffle itself around that fundamental truth. People who are no longer meant to walk alongside you will naturally, gracefully fade away from your life. Opportunities that were always meant for you will begin to appear effortlessly, without you having to chase them down. Conversations will unfold that open doors to brand new possibilities, new pathways you hadn't even considered before. You will find yourself drawn, not pushed or forced, into environments that naturally resonate with your growth, your expansion as a person. You will notice these shifts in the smallest of moments, in the most subtle of ways. The way you confidently walk into a room, the way you consciously control your breathing, the unwavering way you direct your focus, the way you finally allow yourself to speak your mind or, equally powerfully, remain silent, the way you stop feeling the need to apologize simply for taking up space, for existing. This isn't just mere confidence. This is about knowing your true identity. Confidence is something you cultivate, something you build over time. Identity, however, is something you remember, something that's always been there, waiting to be rediscovered. You are remembering now who you truly were before the world tried to shrink you down, to fit you into a box. Who you were before expectations tried to tame your wild spirit. Who you were before disappointment cast shadows over the crystal clarity of your vision. Who you were before you ever learned to doubt the power of your own inner knowing. The Anointed One isn't someone you're striving to become. It's someone you've always been, deep down. This Saturday marks the quiet, profound recognition of that undeniable truth. Nothing external needs to drastically change for this shift to be real, to be valid. The shift is happening within you, in your very core. Once your identity shifts, destiny has no other option but to play out its hand. There's something truly remarkable that happens when your internal self and your external path begin to move in perfect harmony, in perfect alignment. The world around you starts responding in fundamentally different ways. It's not that suddenly all your circumstances become perfect, devoid of any challenges, but rather that you begin to truly see and understand what was previously hidden from your view. Your perception is refining itself, sharpening its focus. What you once automatically interpreted as obstacles, you now recognize as signs, pointing you in the right direction. What you once perceived as frustrating delays, you now see as precise timing, perfectly orchestrated. What you once believed were devastating losses, you now understand were necessary releases, clearing the way for something better to come. This shift in perception is far from insignificant. It's the very foundation upon which the Anointed One's next chapter will be built. The most profound transformations often happen quietly, almost imperceptibly, until the moment they become utterly impossible to ignore, undeniable in their impact. And that's precisely where you're standing now, on the precipice of the undeniable. You're about to witness the outward reflection of the deep, internal work you've already diligently completed. That's why this Saturday holds such profound significance. It's a threshold moment, a pivotal turning point. The moment where your rich inner world finally steps forward and becomes vividly visible in the outer world. This isn't about expecting something dramatic to suddenly materialize out of thin air. It's about recognizing the subtle yet powerful changes that mark the turning of the seasons in your life. Your energy is aligning with your true direction, your authentic path. Your very presence is beginning to carry the unmistakable resonance of purpose. Your decisions are increasingly reflecting your true identity, rather than being driven by your deepest fears. These internal shifts are the unmistakable signals of emergence, of a new you coming into being. The Anointed One doesn't passively wait to feel ready. The Anointed One understands that readiness isn't merely a feeling, but rather a state of deep alignment, a state of being. You might also notice something else emerging within you during this profound transition. A growing sense of distance from the person you once were. You might look back at old desires, old habits, old conversations, and realize with a sense of clarity that they simply no longer fit. Not necessarily because they were inherently wrong or bad, but because they belong to a different chapter of your personal evolution. You aren't meant to regress, to return to who you once were. You are meant to boldly step into who you are now capable of being, to embrace your full potential. Your evolution has already irrevocably chosen your direction. Now all that remains is for you to simply step into it, to embrace it fully.